Not at all, really, because the way we operate, we put the work in. So I have an assistant scouting both teams, as if we're playing both of them. We wouldn't have presented the players, our opponent, until late tonight anyway, and that's what we'll do when we get in. Because when we land, the game will be either ending or close to ending. We get to the hotel, we'll eat and present the other team's personnel to our players. So we're already prepared for both scouting reports. We just did them both.
Who's doing the scout?
I knew you were going to make me think. Larry's got one and Antoine's got the other one. Darren's working on the second round opponents. So this day and age, it's just with technology, it's so easy, it's easier to get than it used to be. I can promise. I used to have to do it. 20 years ago it was a different story.
You didn't have much to say Sunday about your draw. What do you think of it?
You got to be more specific than that.
About who you're playing. Either of the two teams that you might play, and then UCLA.
What about Kent State? Just don't sell my man Rob Senderhoff short now. Good friend of mine.
Okay, Kent State or UCLA.
We hit a hard 8 together one time in the Cosmo. Buzz Williams was with us too. So Wake and Kansas State. My opinion on both of them. Again, I've been focusing on the Bearcats. Larry's been focused on Kansas State, and Antoine's been focusing on Wake Forest. So you probably have to ask them on that. I'll get more acclimated on the flight. I've been worried about our defense. I didn't think our defense was what it needed to be. Our overall draw, I'm a believer that everybody in the NCAA tournament is good. That's why, a couple of weeks ago when everybody got caught up in what I said, my whole point was the number next to your name doesn't mean it's right or wrong. You don't let other people define you. You're going to have to play somebody. Every team's fan base thinks they got a bad draw. Every team. Everybody's pretty good. You start looking, everybody's hoping that they're going to get to play 15 or 16 seeds all the way to the Elite Eight. It's not realistic. So that being said, both of those teams obviously are possible opponents, have had ups and downs because of their loss levels, but they both played unbelievable schedules. So, as far as Kent State, who won at Texas, by the way, or UCLA, we'll worry about that when we get to it, But, I'm not the guy that looks, I hear some coaches, although I've been insulated, yet I hadn't seen Sammy, so we had, Sammy and I we had to pack, and she's going with me, had a lot of stuff to get done. So fortunately, I didn't turn on ESPN, but I hear people talking about, look at our region and, some coaches. I don't feel a need to sell my fan base that if we get beat, don't hold it against me. I think that's what goes on. There's a lot of gamesmanship that goes on.
The comments you did just reference a second ago, is there any part of you that wonders if the NCAA committee kind of said, we're going to stick it to Mick Cronin because of what he said?
Well, I got news for them. If they think they did, if they think that I lose 1 ounce of sleep worrying about anything that they say or do, it would mean that I respected their opinion of my team, which I don't. And and then unless Tom Izzo and Rick Pitino are in that room, they got a tough job to do. It is what it is. It's guesswork, which is what I really tried to tell you 2 weeks ago. And it is a big business. But no, I think if you're asking like why we were seeded 6 is your question,
Or out west.
I don't even understand all that. And again, I'd say they do what they want and they can justify it any way they want to. And anybody that challenges them, they're going to say that they're off base and they're a bad guy and, threaten to reprimand them. It's comical. But it doesn't bother me. Even in the least bit, I don't think about it at all.
Did you get threatened with a reprimand?
You have to ask Mike Bone that. What I would tell you is our league was disrespected because SMU was in our conference. But, that's not what we're worried about. I'm telling you, it's very important. Everybody, I haven't thought about it, don't care about it. And my point is, even if you're a 3 seed, okay, in my opinion, where us and SMU are as good as 3 seeds and have had the same kind of year as 3 seeds. But you could still turn and have to play the same. That's what I tried to tell you a couple weeks ago. It's the same thing. So, if we're fortunate enough to win our first game and we end up playing UCLA, it's the same thing. So we'll see. But look, we've had a great year. You're not going to draw 15 seeds all the way out. So you're going to have to play good teams. That's the way it is. To me, the matchup is more important. Like Kansas State's a great defensive team. They don't have the high-powered offenses as some of the elite teams, but so they have to play. They're very physical. They play really hard. Bruce Weber's always been a great coach. Danny and I used to go to basketball camp together in Lawrence Hall. There's your storyline if we play Wake Forest. Danny was a multi-year camper here at UC. I remember it was the old colors. We were on the Brown team. He's older than me. Make sure you write that. But he was the best camper I ever played with, suffice it to say. But his team can really score. And the Collins kid, everybody says, a first-round pick. So they're very different. The matchup is more important than the seed line. As far as what they did, ask them. I don't know. Ask them. Ask them. I don't ask them. I don't listen, and quite frankly, don't care. Because again, you could get a great draw and get who drew middle? Anybody know who drew middle? Tennessee State? Did Richard did? Yeah. So I'm very Richard Pitino. I started his coaching career, by the way. I got him a job at Mike Hart at St. Andrews High School when he was a freshman at Providence. Not his father. So I kid him about that all the time. But he drew Kermit Davis, who, like I told you, nobody wants to play. Trust me, I'm very happy that we're not playing Middle Tennessee State.
After doing this now, this team's been in the tournament 7 straight years. When you look back at what makes a team successful in the NCAA tournament, is there something you point to as what teams do to advance?
Well, some of it's luck because it's a one-game shot. I think that's what people don't realize, and that's why you got to be able to win different ways. You got to have talent. Talent's the most important thing, and then you got to play well on that night. As well as we played Saturday is as bad as we played Sunday, and that's just the facts of it. So it's not the pros where it's not a 7-game series. And that's why when people say, this coach, that coach, he's been to this, he's been to that, I say, well, hold on, let's look at his overall record. Okay, so like Jamie Dixon is, in the last 15 years, one of the best coaches in college basketball. Look at his record. It speaks for itself. But people get hung up on maybe some other person that went to a Final Four that Jamie Dixon has accomplished way more in his career at Pitt, now his first year at TCU. But our sport is so caught up in your tournament run. And it's funny because it's so based on luck and one-game shot instead of your whole entire body of work. So I would vote, if you were to ask me, I'd like to have a player get really hot because that's the most important thing. You get one, like again, Wake Forest, the Indian Miracles. You get one player get really, really hot and start carrying you to wins. That would be great. Now, obviously, I can sit here and say all the coach stuff. We got to defend. We got to do all the stuff. Everybody. You got to do all that stuff. I don't think that's what you guys want to hear. That's your normal coach talk. But get away from that. I'd like to have have Troy just get on a massive roll. He's been saving it for the tournament. Let Troy just get on a massive roll and put us on his back, because that happens. Shabazz did it a few years ago for UConn.
Kevin Johnson struggled his last couple games.
Yeah, big concern of mine. I say that because Kevin, for us, my message to him is that he's our emotional leader. The stat sheet hasn't mattered to him all year. And in my opinion, that's why he's had a better year making shots, because his mind has been on being the toughest guy, being our leader, being our defender. And he hasn't felt a need to chase points And I think, it's just human nature, though. You're a kid. It's the end of your career. You want to play well. So I see, he's being hard on himself. I just got to get his mind off of it. I got to get his mind on, hey, we're in the tournament. I'm going to lead my team, and I got to forget about last week. And I can't, I've said this all year. I mean, you can't stand over a 3-foot putt and so I got to make it. I mean, that's what he's doing right now with every shot he takes. And he's got to just forget about all that stuff.
But you don't think he's been chasing drugs, he's just missing shots?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But I think with him, he just wants to play well for his team. And my message to him is, your number one priority, your job on this team is lead the team. You're our best defender. You're our emotional heartbeat. You're our toughest guy. Whether you make a shot or not, you're playing. And so no, but that's easy. I'm still young enough that I understand. It's frustrating as a kid when you miss shots. I feel bad for him, but somehow, I got to get that out of his mind. He can't worry about it. With him, he's not. All he wants to do is win. He wants to help his team. It's frustrating when you miss.
And you mentioned about your defense a few minutes ago. Did you think you played worse on defense than you did on offense?
I thought, offense comes and goes. People think with kids, somebody asked me a question about, when Jacob was 0-4, did you tell him he had to step it up? I mean, what do you mean step it up? I don't know, when he's not driving a car, he can't, shots go in or they don't. The law of averages comes out. What you can control is your attitude, your effort, and when you struggle on offense, you have to play better defense. I'm concerned with our defensive effort in the second half against UConn, just as much as I was Sunday against SMU. So we had 3 straight halves where a team shot over 40% against us. That's a concern. That's got to stop. And we can control that. On offense, all you can control is pass the ball, share the ball, fundamentals of shooting. The ball doesn't always go in. Jacob Evans is not going to shoot 70% like he did for 2 games. That number was coming down Sunday. Now you got to get Kyle Washington to quit fouling. He's got to play. Let's be honest. I mean, we're going anywhere. He can't be on the bench with 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes of every game. He's got, that can't happen. That's a big concern.
The defense you mentioned on film, what did you see that was an issue or concerns you have on that end?
Sunday we were low deflections. Saturday night we struggled to guard Adams off the pick and roll. Now he's a great player off the pick and roll. We got a little too spread out defensively, strategically, and then Sunday we were emotionally a little empty, a step slow, but we were letting my philosophy of defense and what works for us is we try to not let you get comfortable. We do it in different ways. UConn got comfortable against us in the second half, and SMU was comfortable all day against us Sunday. And in my opinion, that's why teams make shots when they get comfortable. So we have got to get back to being a disruptive team. Now that doesn't mean we're trying to steal the ball all the time, but we've got to get back to taking people out of their comfort level and finding a rhythm. Because when teams get in a rhythm against you, that's when they're going to make shots and they're going to be able to make the plays that they need to make to break you down.
You've played on the West Coast before time changes. Is there anything that you can add to the routine or that you've learned to add to the routine to help that time change, or just kind of run on?
We're getting there tonight, so time change. Well, I'm not. I don't think so.
Did that travel day make a difference? Would you have gone tomorrow if you were playing on the East Coast? Or?
Yeah, we would. If we were playing Friday on the East Coast, we wouldn't have left till tomorrow. So we're leaving tonight. That way, it'd have been to me tomorrow. I don't know how you get off a 5-hour flight and then ask kids to practice. That's kind of tough. I guess you could, but I don't know how you could have a 5-hour flight and then have a good practice. To me, that'd be pretty impossible. Versus if you're getting off, fly out tomorrow morning and you're on an hour-and-a-half flight somewhere. It's a little different story. So that's why we're going tonight.
How does that work when you go out there? Does the NCAA arrange like where you practice? And
No.
go?
So you get the public workout the day before the game, but you only get 40 minutes,
Right.
which
So you find some.
I don't know what you're supposed to be able to get done in 40 minutes. So you have to practice somewhere else. Looking for Mark. We know where we're practicing. I can't. They might be a Division III school, or yeah. And I don't know if they may give you suggestions. I'm really not sure about it, but you find a place to practice. Spokane, we were at Spokane Community College. So yeah, you find some places. They're pretty. The local communities are all pretty accommodating.